They're accused murderers, child rapists. They're accused murderers, child rapists, drug dealers, and thieves. A News 8 investigation has found these alleged criminals in Dallas County are routinely released before they ever go to trial. And here's one official estimate that's astounding. Since 1991, 128 accused murderers and 409 child abusers and rapists were let go. David Schechter's here with the story.
In most cases, the accused are citizens of Mexico here illegally, but despite pending felony charges, these accused felons are loaded on a bus back to Mexico and set free. News 8 found it's the ultimate case of not my job, and it allows accused murderers, rapists, and drug dealers off the hook, and it's been going on for years.
Load up the bus, legs in shackles. You'd think an accused criminal would dread a ride like this, but you'd be wrong. When this ride is over, he'll be walking free in Mexico. And that's just what happened to Jose Adonrico this past August. He faced the possibility of life in prison, charged with violently raping two girls, 12 and 14. Police say he bound their arms, covered their eyes with duct tape, and told one girl he had a gun and would kill her. But instead of trial, Rico was loaded onto a bus by federal immigration officials and set free in Mexico. David Finn is a former Dallas County judge and former federal prosecutor.
That's tragic and unacceptable.
We wanted to know if the Jose Rico case was an isolated incident. The answer, not by a long shot. News 8 found in just a 3-month period, at least 20 Mexican citizens facing felony charges were sent home. How is that possible? Well, Dallas County officials and federal immigration authorities do not work together to prevent it.
Everyone thinks this is a problem. It's the left hand and the right hand are not on the same page, and they're not communicating.
Without communication, here's what happens. News 8 found this summer at least 11 Mexican nationals facing drug crimes were bused back to Mexico. All of them avoided the possibility of lengthy prison sentences in Texas. Rosalinda Palma Paredes faced 20 years in jail, charged with making and selling a large quantity of meth. Instead, she was released to Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. Mike Snipes is a Dallas County judge.
I didn't know that this happened. I didn't know that immigration would deport without checking.
In many cases, here's how it works. The accused criminals pay their bonds. Then they're turned over to federal authorities at ICE because they're in the U.S. illegally. But ICE's job is to deport regardless of pending state criminal charges. At that point, the DA's office hasn't even been assigned the case yet, so it's not tracking where the defendant is. And finally, magistrate judges are releasing the bonding companies from their financial obligations, so there's no incentive to track down the defendant.
Nobody's accepted responsibility. No one will be adjudicated. There's not going to be any justice.
Not in the case of Jose Salvador Tinajero. He was charged with molesting his two stepdaughters, one of them 4 years old. Tinajero faced the possibility of life in prison, but News 8 found after posting bond and before going to trial, he was deported to Mexico by the feds. Back in August, when we first learned that accused child rapist Jose Rico was gone, we asked District Attorney Craig Watkins what could be done to improve communication with federal authorities.
Ultimately, how can you all work together to make sure it doesn't happen again?
Well, ultimately, hopefully, before the week is over, we will have contact with INS and we will come up with a policy and a procedure.
That meeting never happened. Watkins declined to be interviewed for this story. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, also declined, saying it stands ready to cooperate with the DA if asked. Judge Snipes, however, did take action, and last week he requested the U.S. Attorney bring local and federal players to the table in an effort to share information.
There are a lot of people down here who have access to that information. It doesn't have to be that complicated, I don't think.
So, how big is the problem?
128 murders, 18 attempted murders, 16 manslaughters, 3 negligent homicides, 409 child abuse cases, 54 sexual assaults, 307 aggravated assaults, 49 robbery and kidnappings.
That's a ballpark estimate going back to 1991, compiled by Ernesto Fierro, an investigator in the Dallas County District Attorney's Office. He is one of only a few people actually going beyond their job to keep accused felons from leaving the country. He does it behind the scenes, acting on tips from one of his closest friends, who happens to be a federal officer with ICE.
Hey brother, hey buddy, I got this guy over here. Do you want him? It's not his job to do that. It's not my job to get that call and to go do something about it.
And that is how, last week, he came to pick up Juan Antonio Morales from ICE custody and bring him back to the county jail. Morales, accused of raping a child, was about to board that federal bus for Mexico.
I'm furious. This is the whole reason why I drew this up and wrote it on my own time.
Over a year ago, Fierro began to collaborate on a plan for a joint immigration task force of local and federal agents. The DA's office tabled the $200,000 proposal due to budget and personnel cuts. But Fierro is still hopeful that there's a way to make it everyone's job to share information and check for pending criminal charges before loading up that bus.
What would that mean to the kids out there and the parents out there who have been victimized to have your idea come to fruition?
They'll see justice. Straight out. They'll see justice.
Now, we've focused on Dallas County in this story, but experts believe accused felons are escaping justice across Texas and the whole country, because so far, no one has figured out a way to stop it. David Schechter, Channel 8 News.